Hello everyone and welcome back to Bacon. Also welcome back to Cinderella Phenomenon, Rod's Route. I do apologize if it sounds a bit like I'm in an open room. I am! I still don't exactly have the ability to put up the room divider that I was using as kind of like a sound buffer, but it's better than sounding like I'm in a tin can. So, with that said, let us continue on with Rod's Route. The next day, Rod and I head out to the forest. Just as I anticipated, the trees are more vibrant today, their branches weighed down by shining red apples. It's beautiful. I reach out to touch one of the apples. Do you think we could pick some for Emmeline? I'm sure she'd love that. A gentle breeze rustles the leaves of the trees as we take in our surroundings. The sound of birds chirping punctuates the gentle silence. Being here with Rod makes me feel at peace. For the moment, neither of us has to worry about being seen in each other's company. We can relax. This place is full of nostalgia. I looked forward to our secret meetings here. Funny that we're still meeting here like this, even after so much has changed. We stand there for a few moments, savoring the peace and quiet. And then Rod slowly steps away from me and holds out his hand. May I have this dance? Of course. Did I ever get the right choice indicator? I can't imagine going into town would have been the right decision, though, because that's so not discreet. The two of us have never needed music to dance. Right when I was asking about it. I close my eyes and lean my head against his chest, relishing the feeling of his closeness. It has been a long time since we danced like this, but I have the movements memorized. It is easy to slide back into routine. Later, when the sun sinks below the horizon, Rod turns to me. As much as I enjoy this, I think we should head back. He smiles. Your dance lessons are about to start, and we unfortunately need a bigger space for them. I take his arm when he offers it. So, apple picking, and then we turn to the palace? Rod nods. Rod? Thank you for suggesting this break. Anything for you, Lucette? Aww, cutie pies. The next day, Father officially introduces Rod as our dance instructor. The announcement causes quite a stir, and soon all of the servants are talking about him. It is not long before the gossip spreads through NGL. Most of what people are saying is positive. It seems Rod does have quite the reputation. It is amazing that Rod has made a name for himself in so short a time. I hope he overhears these conversations and is proud of himself. I certainly am. I am on my way to the throne room when I hear one such conversation between two maids. So, what do you think of the new dance instructor? He looks to have a stern demeanor, but I'm sure maybe he's a secret charmer. They giggle. I'm impressed someone so young has earned so much prestige in Brigantia. I can only imagine how talented he must be. And he's handsome to boot. Darn right. I wonder what he looks like when he smiles. He always has such a scowl on his face. And they never tire of gossiping. Never, Lucette! It's called spilling the tea. But it's strange, isn't it? Sir Rod has visited the palace many times before. I wonder why. Oh. Oh? Do you suppose he's courting Princess Emmeline? They seem very close. Oh, maybe you're right. Ew. I mean, they don't know, but still. I nearly choke on my own breath, and I have to put my hand to my mouth to keep from laughing. You know what's strange, though? The fact that they look so similar. That is rather odd. Do you think he could be courting Princess Lucette? You think? From what I ever hear, Princess Lucette has never expressed interest in any of her suitors. Well, I guess I am grateful no one has caught on to the tidbit of gossip yet. I shake my head as I make my way to the throne room. Ron and Emmeline look up in unison when I step inside. Emmeline immediately shoves her hands behind her back and smiles at me. It is a strange, strained smile. You trying to be sneaky, girl? You're not good at it. I'm just saying. Hello, Lucette. Are you okay? Of course. Why wouldn't I be? Her voice actually squeaks, and I am unsure of whether to be confused or concerned. Are you seriously not picking up on all these signs? She's hiding something behind her back. She has a strained smile, and she's squeaking. She's clearly hiding a thing behind her back, and it's probably not Sebby again, since Sebby's already been revealed, which means it might be something else. Something special? What if it's the engagement ring? I raise an eyebrow. Rod gives Emmeline a gentle nudge. Aren't you going to be late for your piano lessons, Em? Oh, you're right. I'll see you both later. Emily makes a beeline for the door, and only slows as she gets closer to me. She turns and, obviously hiding something behind her back, continues to sidestep toward the door. She's as bad as me when it comes to trying to hide shit. You're acting strange. It's just your imagination. She's also just as bad as me when it comes to lying about hiding shit. The last thing to leave her mouth before she exits is an excruciatingly awkward laugh. Rod looks like he is trying not to cringe. Honestly, if she were more cynical, she would be me. Emmeline is a terrible liar. I turn to Rod expectantly. Okie dokes. Let's see. Ask Rod about Emmeline's behavior or stay silent. Well, they're trying to hide something from me, and they do delight in surprises, so I'm gonna say silent first and play along with it. They're obviously keeping some secret from me, but I'm more amused than irritated. I agree 100%, Lucette. This is really funny. I cannot help the smile on my face. What is it? Nothing at all. Rod's, oh, immediately, yes! I love innocent little things like this. It's just so cute. Rod smiles, if not a little awkwardly, before turning to a nearby table to look at his music sheets. The table is new. Father had it placed here for our lessons. So, have you heard the latest gossip? Rod groans. Please tell me you're not actually interested in that. I assure you, this gossip is a little more entertaining. How so? I overheard a rumor you were courting Emmeline today. Rod stares at me in horror. I laugh at his reaction. Oh, Kitty. You're just messing with me. No, it's the truth. Who started this rumor? Do they not realize how ridiculous it is? Rod pinches the bridge of his nose. Why did it have to be M? There was nothing about you? I suppose we have no chemistry. That just means our acting is impeccable. How much longer are we going to pretend, Rod? It's been 2 years. You made this wish so we didn't have to hide, so why are we still doing this? Rod looks away, eyes distant. Are you still afraid people will think you unworthy of me because you are a commoner? Rod flinches. I saw what Mother went through after marrying the king. I know it must have been a difficult transition, but Ophelia is well loved. I look at him perplexed. Are you scared you would have to go through the same thing as Ophelia? I don't care what people say about me. I'm concerned about what they'll say about you. Rod, you already know I do not care what others say about me. I am no stranger to shutting people out. I've lived most of my life being hated by this kingdom, Rod. I think I can handle myself just fine. That's true. You're right. Maybe it is me after all. Rod. Rod abruptly shrugs, as if shirking the worry from his shoulders. Let's not talk about this right now. I just remembered something I wanted to discuss with you. Oh? Aha! I love that that was the correct answer, I gotta say. If it had been the other thing, I would have been sorely disappointed. I was thinking last night about how you never responded to my last letter. There was no time. You arrived 3 days later. M intercepted the messenger that day to make sure no letters were being sent to me. She didn't see anything from you. I was going to write, but I was upset that day and wanted to put it off until I was calmer. If this is because of my wish, then maybe I never should have told you about it. I stare at him baffled. Rod, can you imagine how terrible I would have felt if you hadn't told me? Leaving me in the dark would have been the greatest insult to me. Why would you think... She's allowed to be upset, bro. She's allowed to be upset. And you don't even know the reason why she was upset yet. Which was because you did not mention when the next time you were coming by, even though it had been 2 months. You guys need full communication before you start going off the handle like this, damn it. Rod shakes his head. Sorry, that was a stupid thing to say. I know. I know it was a bit late, and I know I'd already made up my mind, but you needed to know, and I always figured that if you truly despised the idea, I would stop. But you were hopeful, weren't you? Even if you were a bit reluctant? Maybe I was hopeful. I did not get as angry at him as I should have, but did it really seem that way to him? Lucette, I know you're unsatisfied right now, but trust me, I've learned from my mistakes. From here on out, we face our problems together. I would like that, Rod, only it is difficult to do things together when you live so far away. I know, but I promised you I had a plan, right? I will make things work. Are you gonna let her in on your plan? At all? I thought you guys are gonna... together from this point on. I look at him with scrutiny, but Rod does not waver this time. He regards me confidently, and after a few moments, I cave. I will trust you then. Rod sighs. I wanted this, Lucette. Not just for you, but for myself, too. Being a prince was a constant reminder of how much I lied to the world about who I was. With this wish, I start living a life crafted by my own hands. But before I can say anything else, Rod has closed the distance between us and pressed his lips to mine, effectively cutting off my words and apparently also my ability to read words. Afterwards, he pulls back and looks right into my eyes, his face flushed. Aww. That was just a shut-up kiss, though. How come you guys don't have actual real kisses more? Especially, it was brought up in the comments, why didn't they kiss when they met up again? At first I thought it was because, you know, their parents were around and it was a little awkward because that's technically both their families. It's one thing when it's Lucette's family and she kisses the guys or she gets kissed in front of them, in which case she's the only one kind of left embarrassed. It's both their families, so it's more than just a little awkward. But then when they had alone time, why wasn't one of the first things they did was share a kiss? It strikes me that this has happened more than a few times. Must you always do that so suddenly? Aw, blushing babies. Rod grumbles and shrugs. It's always the easiest way to get you to stop talking. Anyway, really? I love you, Lucette, and I would do anything for you. No matter what happens in the future, I know I will never regret this wish. Rod sets a hand on my shoulder and squeezes. Stop worrying about all this, okay? I promise it will work out. I cannot promise, but I will certainly try. That's good enough for me. Now, he reaches for my hand and plants a kiss on the back of it. Shall we continue where we left off yesterday? They can dance in the palace now and they have an excuse. Aww! I smile as I place my other hand on his shoulder. We shall. Oh, that's cute. Oh, didn't he also used to sing? He took up dancing because he gave up singing because he lost his voice or whatever. I wonder if he ever started singing again. These past few days, Rod has been teaching me one of the Brigantian dances he learned. This dance in particular is full of energy and involves a lot of twirling and side steps. Rod leads me into spin after spin. We have become comfortable enough dancing with each other that we do not need to focus on our steps when we move. I am glad because it allows me to focus on his serene expression. Is there something on my face? I shake my head. Just your face? Nothing but your wonderful smile. I was just thinking about how much I miss dancing with you. Same here, but now we can do it every day. Yes, only how much longer will every day last? By the time the song is stopped, I am almost out of breath. A job well done, Lucette. You still need to practice your footwork, but you're learning quickly. Rod leads me to a chair and hands me a glass of water. Thank you. I gulp down at least half the glass before facing Rod. That dance was exhausting. How are you not out of breath? He's probably used to it. Yeah, I've had a lot of practice. Once you get used to the steps, they become cathartic. You just need to build stamina. It's a dance that suits Brigantians, though. They're very lively. I look at Rod, curious. Sounds like my kind of kingdom. Can you two tell me more about life in Brigantia? Rod seems to ponder quietly for a few moments. Then, after some consideration, he pulls out a chair and sits beside me. He begins by telling me how difficult life was for him at the beginning, especially given that he'd never left the kingdom before. He was constantly homesick, but Claude and his family were able to lighten that burden by being overly accommodating. Of course they were. At first it was overwhelming. Eventually, however, Rod became accustomed to the royal family's enthusiasm. That's gotta be like an introvert's nightmare, to go to a kingdom, a literal kingdom of extroverts. High energy extroverts at that. It's like my D&D night, except opposite. I'm the only extrovert in a group of introverts. He tells me very briefly about them. When he brings up Lance, Claude's brother, I cannot help but wonder. I have spoken to Lance a few times. He seems more cordial than Claude, but I do not know him well. I wonder what he is like. Rod crosses his arms. Being a student was easier than being a teacher. Back when I lived here, all I needed to do was study. I might not have been good at most of my classwork, but at least it was straightforward work. I relate to that so hard. My goodness. So my family was really poor, and even though I was actually a really good athlete, I was really good at athletics. In particular, I was good at baseball. I was good at volleyball, baseball, jogging, racetrack, things like that. I actually could also play basketball. Pretty much I played anything but football. Football I still hate to this day. I'm sorry, football fans. I don't like football. I don't like playing it. I don't like watching it. I don't care for it at all. And I also used to play badminton and tennis and things like that. But in particular, baseball was what I was actually the best at. But volleyball was the one that I could actually have continued on, and that would have probably led to like more scholarships and things like that, which would have been fine. I loved playing both of those sports in particular the most. Basketball was also a lot of fun, but I'm a shorty. Anyway. The point of it is that like when I'm very good at being a student because unfortunately grades were free, so to speak. Because sports weren't free, they weren't pushed. I never got to be a part of a team, and it wasn't pushed to have me practice because they were very low energy, and I was extremely high energy. There's no one else in my entire family like me, apparently. There's no one else as crazy and obnoxious as me. So, because they weren't able to keep up with me, they didn't encourage it because that required more from them than they could give. And then we didn't have the money to put me on a team, so I couldn't get that energy out on a team. So eventually I just gave up on it. And again, because grades were free, that was what was pushed, so I became a good professional student. And then when you go out into the real world, I can't hold down a job for my life. Really? Emmeline told me once that you were a fast learner. She said you knew how to sing, dance, cook. Rod flushes. I excelled in those things because I enjoyed them, not because I was a good student. I look at him curious. I have never heard you sing or watched you cook. Rod shrugs. Dancing was the easiest way for me to express myself when I lost my voice. Now it feels like the most natural thing to focus on. And actually, I used to be a very good dancer as well, and I eventually went into belly dancing and stuff like that, and it sucks because now when I see myself from back then, and I see me attempting to dance like at a wedding today, I'm so sad. And what's funny is I also used to be a really strong singer too. In other words, I had a lot of potential. All that went to waste anyway. And I think about those things today and about how like I was also into instruments. You know, I used to play the piano, I used to play the recorder, which could have led to the flute. I used to be really into music to the point where like I used to try and compose my own songs and things like that, and that also didn't get encouraged. It is, again, because each time I got into something, I was just too high energy for anyone to handle. And because I was just too high energy for anyone to be able to handle and there was no good outlets, here I am! But traditional classwork has never come easy to me. And here I thought the only thing you were bad at was expressing your feelings. Rod's cheeks turn an endearing shade of pink as he scowls at me. You're the worst. He sighs as he glances out the window at some distant sight. So, what are you bad at then? Why do you ask me that? Because I'm curious. You have to promise not to laugh. Aw, I won't. Rod stares down at his hands and sighs. History, politics, fencing, remembering dates and names, and combat. My swordsmanship is atrocious. There is clear distress in Rod's eyes when he confesses this to me. His usual stoic facade is broken. The Rod I see before me looks vulnerable and anxious. I cannot help but smile. Why are you smiling? I'm always happy when you open up to me. It feels like I'm a part of your life. Then, from now on, I'll make sure to tell you even the little things. Thank you! I would love that. We stan a guy who tells you all the things that he's thinking and feeling. Once my dance lessons are over, I head back to my room to practice creating simple potions. It is a solitary task, one I normally practice in my free time. However, probably because I am always so bored during the experiments. I sit up groggily, realizing belatedly that I have fallen asleep at my desk. Various potion ingredients lay scattered on the surface. I stare at the clock. It's already the next day? How in the world did I sleep through last night's dinner? A knock sounds at the door. Your Highness, His Majesty requires your presence in the throne room. Understood. I wonder what he wants from me so early in the morning. Father is seated on his throne when I enter. Rod stands before him. Good morning, Lucette. Good morning, Father. I approach warily. I called you here for an important announcement. Rod, would you like to do the honors? I am surprised by the glowing smile on Rod's face. I've officially asked permission from His Majesty to court you, Lucette. Ah! I stared between the two of them with wide eyes. When did this happen? Last night. You were already asleep, so we thought it best to wait until morning to tell you. I turned my baffled gaze to Rod, who was smiling. Who was still smiling, rather. I thought about what you said. I agree. It's time we stop hiding. There's no reason for it anymore. I move before I can think. In a heartbeat, I have my arms wrapped around Rod's waist and my head on his shoulder. It feels as if a momentous weight has suddenly been lifted from my shoulders. There will be no more hiding, which means I no longer have to hide my affection for him. News of our courtship spreads like wildfire. I am accustomed to gossip and unfazed by the attention, but I can tell Rod is unnerved by the sun's spotlight. Still, we do our best to continue our daily routines. I notice, however, that Rod has become busier in recent days. He tells me he has been meeting with Father about important matters. I figure it is about the upcoming ball. I have just finished my dance lessons for the day. Though Rod is meeting with Father in the throne room, I have no obligations and decide to return to my room to read up on potion making. I am passing by the dining hall when I pause, hearing voices inside. And because he was so embarrassed, he ended up running away. I hear laughter. That definitely sounds like Rod. Those voices. I push open the door to the hall. Ophelia and Emmeline look up when I enter. I am shocked to see Sebi there too, sitting on Emmeline's shoulder. That's cute. Before, Rod and Sebi were inseparable, but ever since Rod returned, I've barely seen them together. I wonder why. Oh, hello, Lucette. I mean, he did mention that Sebi's still good at reading his mind, even though he technically can't read his mind. Perfect timing. We were just talking about... Emmeline cups her hands to her mouth, casts a surreptitious look over my shoulder, and then whispers, Rod. Obviously. Ophelia beckons me over to the table, then turns back to Sebi. So, what happened after that? He refused to step out of his room the whole day. When others asked after him, he feigned sickness. Emmeline sighs. Why didn't he just refuse the gifts? Probably because most of them were from noblewomen, and refusing outright would have been insulting. What is this about gifts and noblewomen? Oh, I was just telling everyone how popular Rod is with the Brigantian noblewomen. Sebi? Sebi, you're normally a lot better about this. He was sent various gifts from young women on Heart's Day, but because he didn't want to refuse them, he avoided everyone altogether by staying in his room. I do not realize I am glaring until Ophelia places a hand on my arm. Lucette? I forced the scowl from my face immediately, not sure why it was there in the first place. No need to worry, Princess. You told him he was in love with someone else. I could feel my face heat at his words. Aw, you're blushing. I am not. I promised to look after Rod, and I intend to keep that promise, and that goes for you too, Princess. If I had to drive away 100 women, I'll do it. Aw. The thought of a tiny plush bunny attempting to scare off a gaggle of girls makes me laugh. It's cute. Before I know it, I become absorbed in the conversation. Hours later, when our conversation winds down, I make my way to my room to read my potions book. I wonder why she's so into potions this route. Today I am going to the Marchen for one of my magic lessons, or at least that was my plan. Just yesterday, however, I received a letter from Parfait saying there was a change in plans. Everyone at the Marchen has decided to throw a small celebration for Rod and me. At first, Rod seemed reluctant to go, but he couldn't refuse after Parfait personally requested his presence. In the end, the two of us agree to go by carriage. Rod is already standing by the carriage when I arrive. I smile when our eyes meet, but Rod only nods, his mind seemingly elsewhere. I immediately notice the dark circles under his eyes. Uh-oh. Everything alright? I'm fine. I just didn't get much sleep last night. I was up reading the King's books far past midnight. The King's books. I found out only a few days ago that Father started lending Rod specific study material. Apparently these books are meant to teach Rod more about the policies and rules governing our kingdom. Our kingdom is almost what I said. I hope you're not overworking yourself. Rod smiles. It is a tired but thankfully reassuring smile. I'm not. He holds out a hand and helps me into the carriage. No sooner have we entered the town than some of the townsfolk, noticing the royal carriage, begin to wave at us. The response is uplifting. Before, the masses avoided me. Now, things are different. And let me just say, this route so far has felt so much more natural. So much more... I don't know how to say it. It's a very comfortable route. There's nothing that feels like it's being forced. Everyone is still in character. Everything is working appropriately. It's a comfortable, just proper route is how it feels, if that makes sense. Proper. I don't even know if that's the right word for it. But basically, I'm just trying to say, this is what I kind of expect from the game versus what was happening with Chev. The entirety of Chev's route was just a mess. Things began to change when I made a public apology after breaking my curse. The townsfolk were at first skeptical of whether or not I would follow in my mother's footsteps as the Tenebran bearer, but their trust began to grow when I started dispelling fairy tale curses. Princess! I look out the window and see a little boy running to keep pace with the carriage. Can I give you something? A gift? Please? I ordered the carriage to stop and step out. The boy flashes a toothy grin. Then without any preamble, he holds out a lily. I got this for you, princess. Oh, it's cute. I take the flower from him with a gentle smile. Thank you. The boy claps his hands behind his back and smiles shyly. Someday I'll become a prince and marry you. Aww. I am simultaneously bemused and taken aback by the confession. I appreciate your gift, but I'm afraid I'm already courting a prince. I gesture at Rod, who stands between me and the carriage. The boy blinks. But he's not a real prince, right? He's not a real prince, right? Boy? Okay, let's see. I'm gonna say this because it seems more appropriate than you are right. You do not need to be a prince to marry a princess. Rod, who has been silent this whole time, suddenly starts speaking. Not being a prince just means you have to work a little harder. The boy's eyes seem to shine with hope at the prospect. Then I'll work hard too so I can live in a palace someday. Rod's smile is wane. He suddenly looks incredibly tired. We should leave, Lucette. They're waiting for us. I give the boy my heartfelt thanks before stepping back into the carriage. Work harder. Rod mumbles to himself as he stares sullenly at the floor. Rod, are you alright? He looks up suddenly as if I've startled him from his thoughts. Let me go ahead and apologize. There's a lot of words that I'm stumbling on today, and the truth is I'm not entirely sure why. I've been having really bad cotton mouth for like 2 or 3 days now, and it's just really affecting the way that I speak. And when I was a child, I used to have a stumble and a stutter, so that might be part of it. And then I also have an injury to the nerves around my mouth on my bottom lip. But usually, these things aren't an issue. However, every time I start getting cotton mouth, like really bad cotton mouth that doesn't seem to be cured by anything, not water, not Gatorade, of course not coffee, but you know, I can't live without coffee. And it just seems to be affecting me really bad, so please just be patient and bear with me, and I'm sorry if I stumble on words. I should have said that at the beginning, but I really wasn't expecting it to be this bad! He looks up suddenly as if I've startled him from his thoughts. Yes, I'm fine. He smiles weakly before turning his attention back to the view outside the window. Something definitely seems off about him. Princess Lucette, Rod, welcome! Anise is the first to welcome us when we arrive at the Marchen. No sooner have we stepped inside, however, than another person makes himself known. If it isn't everyone's favorite princess! I was hoping it'd be Claude. Chevalier smiles as sunny as always. He steps forward and sweeps into a courteous bow. It's been a while, Princess Lucette. It's still been too soon, though. Much too soon. That it has. Hello, Chevalier. Ever since Chevalier's curse was broken, he has been working at his clinic. Gone is the tenacious flirt I used to know. In his place is an optimistic doctor. At least he's not being a crazy flirt anymore, hopefully. Who still makes ill-timed jokes. Soon we are surrounded by people. Rod stands awkwardly in the center of the room, surrounded by Chevalier, Anise, Delore, and Parfait. Waltz is seated away from the commotion, leaning on an armrest with a grin on his face. Parfait's cousin, Cinna, is seated by the window reading a book. He has not greeted either of us. Maybe this is just my imagination, but... Delore raises an eyebrow. Her Royal Highness is looking particularly buoyant today. And are your cheeks red? Well, what? Delore, you shouldn't tease Lucette so much. Where was even the mildest bit of that energy before when she was openly bullying Lucette? Also, you're so pretty! Oh, I really liked Parfait's original, and I still like it, but her new one's so pretty! She looks good in vibrant blue. Aw. Parfait beams. Being able to flaunt one's love is always a thing to celebrate. Delora looks at me and snorts. Who are you and what have you done with the princess? I still can't believe you fell in love. I bristle at the words. So did I! It's not as if this is news. And anyway, what is that supposed to mean, Delora? Yeah, Delora. Sorry, princess. You're just too much fun to tease. Uh-huh. But in all seriousness, I'm glad you found someone just as stubborn as you are to cherish. Smack you right in the face. I'm standing right here. Delora turns her grin to Rod. You must have some magic of your own, being able to melt the vice princess's heart. Come now, Delora, you're embarrassing them. They make it far too easy, Parfait. Rod turns away with a grumble, arms crossed. Chevalier breaks the momentary silence with an easygoing laugh. It really is a pleasure to see you again, Sir Rod. I haven't seen you since you left for Brigantia that first time. I believe the last time you were... He pauses, considering. Well, you were much shorter, but now look at you. You're almost as tall as the rest of us. Oh, I mean, it's not like he knows Rod is sensitive about his height. I still can't help but be annoyed. He reaches out as if to set a hand on Rod's head, but Rod pulls away with a grimace. And then you want to touch him? Bro, what do you mean almost as tall? Walt spongeily clears his throat and steps between Rod and Chevalier. So, how are things at the palace lately? Rod's expression softens. I can tell he's relieved by the change in subject. They're alright. Busier than normal, but that's to be expected with the news. Chevalier steps forward and squints at us in turn. What? There are dark circles under your eyes. Have you been under more stress lately? Probably. Bro, you know some of the situation at least enough to know. Rod raises an eyebrow. It's rude to impede on someone else's space. Thank you! Oh, my apologies. Chevalier takes a step back. And I'm fine. Besides, what can a doctor do about additional undue stress? Okay. Though Chevalier is quiet, I can tell by the wrinkle between his eyebrows that he is unconvinced. Before he can say anything else, I decide to offer my own opinion. He is doing well. He is under more stress. It's none of his business, so we're going with he is doing well. He's just been busy is all. He's working as a dance instructor and taking lessons with the king. Your concern is unwarranted and unnecessary. Chevalier smiles. Sorry, I am, by nature, a worrier. It's true. Chevalier takes his work seriously. A little too seriously, in my opinion. I also think he takes advantage using his work, but that's just me. Lady Delora, I'm only trying to keep my patients healthy. He shakes his head. Anyway, I'm relieved. I'm just overthinking this. I lean closer to Rod and whisper in his ear as the conversation carries on. You are not allowed to overwork yourself. Understood? Rod sighs. Understood. He smiles, but it does not reach his eyes. Somewhere nearby, a book snaps shut. Must all of you be so loud? Senna approaches, book tucked under his arm. I swear, a person can't read in peace in this place. Go find a not crowded room to go read, bro. Don't complain at them for being loud. He stalks out of the room with a glare affixed to his face. There is silence for a few moments when he leaves, then Chevalier laughs. The Tiny Lord is lively as always. Tiny Lord? Why does he come up with the strangest nicknames? I guess that's one way of describing him. He may seem temperamental, but I assure you Cinnamon is quite pleasant once you get to know him. I glance at Rod. Seems like a certain someone I know. Rod says nothing. Even as I watch, he stifles a yawn. Rod says nothing. Even as I watch, he stifles a yawn. His eyes look glassy. Exactly how many hours of sleep did you get last night? An hour or two? Rod? You're definitely pushing yourself too hard. Chevalier is right. You should take care of yourself. I know you. You always push yourself. Rod shakes his head. Never mind. It's nothing. What? I know there's something on your mind, Rod. It was the right decision. Good. Rod responds with a smile. When I continue to scowl at him, he plants a kiss on my forehead. I swear it's nothing important. Don't worry, I'll get some rest when we get back to the palace. Fine. Though not all of the old boarders are present today, we decided to make the most of our small reunion. And the reason I paused is because I heard borders, and for some reason I was thinking, like, the borders of a kingdom, and I was like, the kingdom borders aren't here? I don't know where my brain is. Anise prepares a small meal for dinner, and the gathering is lively. It's a shame Sir Garland and Lady Jurian couldn't be here, and it's been months since we saw Prince Claude. The knights warned me to apologize on their behalf. They have been busy training new recruits. And the last time Claude wrote, he said he was busy with his duties. I doubt he'll be free anytime soon. I'm glad he still sends us letters every so often. I do rather miss having Miss Karma around. Schiller groans. Oh, please no. Well, I wonder why she was staring daggers at you. Speak for yourself. Miss Karma was always staring daggers at me. I wonder why, Chev. With good reason. Thank you, Delora. Lady Delora. Don't complain to her. Parfait laughs. I'm sure we'll get the chance to have a bigger reunion soon. The conversation goes on, but I notice one person has remained quiet throughout. Rod hasn't spoken a word since we started eating. Is it because he's tired, stressed, or is there something else on his mind? I hope I can get to the root of whatever it is soon. Alrighty. This is where we're gonna end things. Very exciting. I hope you enjoyed a longer video to make up for yesterday's blundering. Anyway, if you like the video, feel free to like the video. If you like me, feel free to like, subscribe, comment, all that lovely stuff. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye!